There's this moment that happens somewhere between your 29th and 31st birthday. You're scrolling through social media, seeing people buy houses, switch careers, have kids, travel the world, and suddenly you realize, wait, am I doing this right? Am I focusing on the things that will actually matter 10 years from now? If you've ever had that thought, I'm glad you're here. And if this resonates with you, hit that like button and subscribe because we're diving deep into life's biggest questions together. Your 30s aren't just another decade. They're fundamentally different from your 20s in ways that nobody really prepares you for. Think about it. In your 20s, you're experimenting, exploring, trying on different versions of yourself like outfits. But your 30s, that's when experimentation meets consequence. That's when your choices start creating patterns that will define your 40s, 50s, and beyond. The uncomfortable truth is that most people sleepwalk through their 30s, following a script someone else wrote. Society hands you a checklist, get the promotion, buy the house, settle down, without ever asking if these things align with what you actually value. And here's what makes it even more challenging. Your 30s are probably your last decade with enough energy, credibility, and time to make massive pivots without starting from scratch. So for the next several minutes, I'm going to walk you through what genuinely matters during this crucial decade. No platitudes about following your dreams. No celebrity success stories that have nothing to do with your reality. Just honest, practical insights about the areas of life where your attention and effort will create the most meaningful returns. The money truth nobody wants to hear. Let's start with something that makes everyone uncomfortable. Money. Not because money is everything, but because financial stress bleeds into absolutely everything else. Your relationships, your health, your sleep, your ability to take risks, all of it connects back to your financial foundation. Here's what's wild about your 30s and money. You're in a window that will never open this wide again. If you're 32 and you start putting away money for retirement, even modest amounts, the mathematics of compound growth will do extraordinary things over 30 years. But if you wait until you're 42, thinking you'll just save more later, you'd have to nearly double your monthly contributions to reach the same endpoint. Think about that for a second. 10 years of delay doesn't just cost you 10 years of savings. It costs you 30 years of growth on those savings. That $400 you don't invest at 31 might need to become $800 at 41 to have the same impact. The universe rewards early action when it comes to money, and your 30s are the sweet spot. But here's where most people get it wrong. They focus on the wrong financial metrics. They obsess over whether they should invest in this fund or that stock, whether they're getting a 7% return or an 8% return, while completely ignoring the fact that they're not saving anything at all. It's like debating which gym membership has the best equipment while never actually working out. What actually matters is the boring stuff. Automating your savings so the money disappears before you can spend it. Understanding that every $1,000 you save in your 30s could become $5,000 or more by retirement, which completely changes how you think about that impulse purchase. Setting up accounts that grow tax-free, like a Roth IRA, creating a snowball effect that becomes more valuable with every passing year. And here's something that took me years to understand. Being your own financial advisor matters more than finding the perfect one. I'm not saying you shouldn't get professional help if you need it, but nobody will care about your money as much as you do. Taking even just 10 hours to understand basic investment principles, how index funds work, what asset allocation means, gives you confidence that's worth more than any advisor fee you'll ever pay. The real question isn't, how do I get rich quick? The real question is, what small, consistent actions can I take right now that will completely transform my financial reality in 20 years? Your career isn't what you think it is now. Let's talk about work because your relationship with your career changes dramatically in your 30s. In your 20s, you're collecting experiences, building your resume, proving yourself. But in your 30s, something fundamental shifts. You start realizing that the ladder you're climbing might be leaning against the wrong wall. I watched a friend spend her entire 20s becoming a senior marketing director at a prestigious firm. Great salary, impressive title. Everyone was proud of her. Then she hit 33 and had this crisis. She realized she'd been chasing other people's definition of success. What she actually wanted was creative control and flexibility, not a corner office and endless meetings. She spent 3 years pivoting into freelance creative direction, and now at 37, she has both the income and the lifestyle she actually values. That's what your 30s are for. You have enough experience now that people take you seriously, but you still have enough runway to make significant changes if something isn't working. You're in this unique position where you can take calculated risks that would have been too risky in your 20s and will feel too risky in your 40s when you have even more obligations. But here's the trap. We avoid these career risks because we're terrified of failure. We forget that staying in a soul-crushing job that misaligns with our values is itself a massive risk. It's a risk to our mental health, our relationships, our sense of self-worth. Sometimes the safest thing you can do is jump. What really matters in your 30s is developing skills that age like fine wine, not milk. Technical skills change. The coding language that's hot today might be obsolete in a decade. But human skills, the ability to communicate clearly, to make sound judgments under pressure, to understand what motivates people, to think critically, these become more valuable every year you practice them. And if you're in a job that's comfortable but not fulfilling, your 30s are the time to start a side project. Not necessarily to replace your income tomorrow, but to explore something that genuinely interests you in a low-stakes environment. That side project might become your main thing, or it might teach you something that transforms how you approach your main thing. Either way, you win. The goal isn't to have it all figured out. The goal is to be honest with yourself about whether your current path is taking you somewhere you actually want to go. The relationship reality check. Here's something nobody tells you about relationships in your 30s. They require active curation in a way they didn't before. In your 20s, friendships often form automatically. You're in school, starting jobs, everyone's available and energetic. But in your 30s, people scatter. They move cities, have kids, get consumed by careers. Suddenly, maintaining relationships requires genuine intention. And there's research backing up why this matters so much. Harvard did this incredible longitudinal study following people for over 80 years, and the clearest finding was this. The quality of your relationships at 50 is the single best predictor of your health and happiness at 80. Not your career success, not your bank account, your relationships. But here's the paradox. Your 30s are when it becomes hardest to prioritize relationships. You're busy building your career, maybe raising kids, dealing with aging parents, managing a household. It's so easy to let months pass without meaningful connection with the people who matter most. What actually matters is being ruthlessly selective. Your social circle will naturally contract in your 30s, and that's not a bad thing. The question is whether you're being intentional about who remains in that inner circle. Are these people who energize you or drain you? Can you be yourself around them, or are you performing? Do they reciprocate the effort you put in, or is it one-sided? And if you're in a romantic relationship, your 30s are when you need to evolve together intentionally. Understanding your partner's love language, how they feel most cared for, stops being cute relationship advice and starts being essential survival strategy. The couples who thrive in their 30s aren't the ones who never have problems. They're the ones who've learned to repair, to communicate, to choose each other daily rather than just initially. One thing I've noticed about successful relationships in your 30s, they require creating protected time without devices. We've normalized constant distraction to the point where having a 2-hour dinner without checking your phone feels radical. But those undistracted moments are where intimacy actually lives. Your body starts keeping score. Let's talk about something that hits differently in your 30s. Health. In your 20s, your body is incredibly forgiving. You can pull all-nighters, eat garbage food, skip workouts, and mostly bounce back. But somewhere around 30, your body starts sending invoices for all that borrowed health. The difference is subtle at first. Recovery takes a bit longer. That injury from the gym lingers. You can't drink like you used to without paying for it the next day. And this is actually a gift because it's your body giving you clear feedback while you still have time to course correct. Here's what matters. Sustainable habits, not heroic efforts. The 30-day transformation challenge that leaves you miserable will always lose to the simple daily practice you can maintain for years. I'm talking about the person who walks 15 minutes every single day, versus the person who does an intense 2-hour workout once a week when guilt overwhelms them. Your 30s are also when mental health moves from nice to address to absolutely essential. The anxiety you could power through in your 20s starts affecting your work, your relationships, your physical health. And here's the thing, taking care of your mental health isn't indulgent, it's foundational. Everything else in your life is built on top of your psychological well-being. Sleep becomes non-negotiable in your 30s. It's not about being old or boring. It's about recognizing that sleep is when your brain consolidates memories, when your body repairs itself, when your immune system strengthens. Every other health goal you have, fitness, mental clarity, emotional resilience, is significantly harder without adequate sleep. The real question isn't, how can I look perfect? It's what small daily habits can I establish now that will serve me when I'm 60? The Great Mindset Revolution. Your 30s are prime territory for the most important shift you'll ever make, from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. In your 20s, you're often trapped by beliefs about who you are and what you're capable of. But your 30s are when you can actively choose to see yourself as someone who can grow, change, and develop through effort and learning. This matters because your belief about whether you can change literally determines whether you will change. If you believe your abilities are fixed, you avoid challenges that might expose your limitations. But if you believe you can develop new capacities, suddenly the whole world opens up differently. And here's a skill that will transform your 30s more than almost anything else. Learning to say no without guilt or extensive explanation. Just no, that doesn't work for me. The freedom that comes from protecting your time and energy without over-justifying your boundaries is extraordinary. We spend our 20s saying yes to everything, terrified of missing out or disappointing people. But your 30s are when you realize that saying yes to everything means saying no to the things that matter most. Every commitment you make is choosing not to commit to something else. Your 30s are also the perfect time to identify patterns that no longer serve you. The defensive reactions, the self-sabotaging behaviors, the limiting beliefs, they've been with you long enough now that you can see them clearly. And once you see them, you can choose differently. Time becomes your most precious resource. Time feels different in your 30s. The days somehow feel longer, but the years accelerate. You blink and suddenly 6 months have passed. This is when understanding the difference between urgent and important becomes critical. Most people spend their 30s trapped in urgent tasks, responding to emails, putting out fires, handling immediate demands. But the important work, the work that actually moves your life forward, is rarely urgent. Strengthening relationships, developing new skills, taking care of your health, planning for the future, none of these scream for attention the way urgent things do. What matters is creating white space in your calendar. Not every moment needs to be productive. Your best ideas, your deepest insights, your most creative solutions, they don't emerge from cramming more in. They emerge from creating space for your mind to wander and connect dots. And here's something that sounds simple, but is actually revolutionary. Setting boundaries around your time is an act of self-respect, because how you spend your days is genuinely how you spend your life. Every day you say yes to things that don't align with your values is a day your 40-year-old self won't get back. Building a life that's actually your society has very clear ideas about what your 30s should look like. But there's a massive difference between an impressive life and a fulfilling one. Your 30s are when you need to get brutally honest about what success means to you specifically, not to your parents or your college friends or society in general. Creating a home environment that supports you rather than stresses you matters more than you might think. Not Instagram perfect, but genuinely peaceful. A space where you can recharge rather than a space that demands constant maintenance and attention. This is also the decade to prioritize meaningful experiences while you still have flexibility. Travel that expands your perspective. Adventures that push your boundaries. Not because they look good in photos, but because they change who you are. And your digital life deserves the same curation as your physical life. The content you consume, the social media you engage with, the news you absorb, all of it shapes your thoughts, your mood, your perception of reality. Being intentional about your information diet is as important as being intentional about your food diet. The purpose question. The existential questions hit differently in your 30s. You've been an adult long enough to see which dreams materialized and which didn't. This creates space for deeper questions about meaning and purpose. Finding your ikigai, that intersection of what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what people will pay for, isn't usually a dramatic revelation. It's something you discover through small daily choices that align with your authentic self. And here's the great dance of your 30s. Balancing ambition with contentment, continuing to strive and grow while simultaneously appreciating what you already have. This isn't settling, it's the opposite. It's being at peace with where you are while actively moving toward where you want to be. Understanding what enough means for you personally is incredibly liberating. Our culture is designed to make you feel like you need more. More money, more status, more achievements, more stuff. But your 30s are when you can define your own finish line, bringing it all together. Everything I've talked about, finances, career, relationships, health, mindset, time, lifestyle, purpose, they're not separate domains. They're interconnected in profound ways. Financial stability gives you freedom to take career risks. Better health improves your relationships. Wiser time management creates space for deeper purpose. The magic isn't perfection in any single area. It's harmony across all of them. Your 30s aren't about having everything figured out. They're about figuring out what deserves your limited time and energy. They're about building foundations that will support you for decades, not from fear, but from genuine care for your future self. The question isn't whether you're doing your 30s right. The question is whether you're spending this decade in ways that your 40, 50, and 80-year-old self will thank you for. Because what actually matters in your 30s is giving yourself permission to build a life that matters to you, not to anyone else, just you. And that might be the greatest gift of this transformative decade.